Greetings, fellow Arkansmith Mapsmiths. I'm James Smith with Knights of the Smith Dinner Table, and I'm here with a brand new Tips and Tricks series to help you out with all the changes of the major public release we just had. As you all know, just recently, Nathan just made public the test version where he has completely rebuilt the Cartographer module and made a lot of updates. We've added a bunch of new extras, animated tiles, all kinds of cool stuff. So I'm going to do a quick overview of all the changes in the Cartographer. I'm going to start here on the main menu. You guys are all pretty familiar with this, but what is new is now we have a button here that brings up the What's New panel. Now if you look, it goes all the way back to when everything started. So you can go through and see all of the old What's New stuff, or if you missed something recent because you clicked through it, you can click on that button down there, pick it up, go back, see what's new. The other thing that's been added is a tutorial section. Now you can access the tutorials from pretty much anywhere in the toolkit now. But if I wanted to watch Dante talk to us about the encyclopedia basics, I can just pop that up, give it a moment to load the tutorial.
You just need to click on the encyclopedia.
Then it starts playing. And as you can see, it plays right in your toolkit, so you don't have to open up another window or anything. You can have it running and still do all your work. Now, moving on, let's get into the Cartographer and all the changes in there. So, a few of the things that most of you guys are already familiar with. You've got your typical palette tool. Down here you have your settings tab. This tab is going to be kind of important because for those of you who don't know about the hotkeys, and we have a lot of them now, if you click on this little button here, you've got a little pop-up that brings up the hotkeys. Now, all the hotkeys are on there. They all do work currently. Couple of the ones that everybody has been clamoring for is the grouping objects, and that'll be something I cover here in a little bit. Got the hotkeys for that. You can copy and paste stuff now. I know there's a lot of demand for that. We've added that. And all the old hotkeys are all still there. Go ahead and close that because I haven't needed the hotkeys in a long time. The advanced settings, none of them have really changed. You can change your background color, you can clear any unused tiles. That's stuff that's from another pack that's disappeared that you don't use anymore. You can change your palette scale, and I personally like, there we go. I personally like about that size. So that way I can move it up here out of the way, and it's not very intrusive. The other tabs, zones, still not there yet. That's coming in a future update. Audio, you can set the soundscapes that automatically start when you open a map. Your DM tools, once again unchanged. Portals, this is the same thing as it was. If you want to add a bookmark, you can just click add a bookmark, set a section, give it a name. I'm just going to give it a number for now, and then it appears here. And when you click on it, it moves your map to that bookmark. And then I can erase it. Alright, lighting, this hasn't changed at all. If you're running a machine that's slightly lower, you may want to click off to enable dynamic lighting or click off automatic update of dynamic lighting. If you're running a high-end machine, it shouldn't have any problems with that. And then of course back to the palette or the main palette tool. Big changes here. First of all, you're going to notice under the Ark and Forge official stuff, everything that's been put out by Ark and Forge tabletop, you're going to notice all of the things have changed here. They've redistributed everything. They've given them much better layout. So that way if you're looking for magic effects, it's all under effects. Or any type of effects really, fog, fire, what have you. That also includes the nice new animated tiles. Now, one thing about the animated tiles, when you first select it, you're going to notice it comes up, and if you look over here, we've got the different types of placements now. You can now place any object, tile, or repeatable animation, whatever it is, in the same exact way that you can place anything. So if you wanted to place it as a repeatable, you can do that. It looks kind of weird. Or if you want to place it as an object, it comes out as that object. You'll notice though, as I place the animations, it's going to have a loading timer or a loading bar. This cannot be seen on the player side, but when you're placing these, typically you're not going to be worried about if the players can see that or not. But as you can see, I'll zoom in here on the wheat field. You can see it moving nice and subtly, and you can change that, and I'll show you guys how to change that here in just a little bit. But with most of these, what you're going to want to do when you select one is you're going to want to go to either the tile placement, so you can do it like this, or polygon placement, so you can do it like that. This is just much better. I'm not sure why it comes up automatically as object placement when these are tiles. You can also do brush placement, and pretty much all the placements are just like they were on that. We've just got a different UI down here for placing stuff. So go over this real quick. Under the tile placement, you still have your squares. You got your brush, you got your polygon. You can still control the brush width. However, now we can go up to 2, and you can still change your brush softness. Now, important thing to note, on the brush softness, 1.0 means that the edge is going to be soft. And to show you what I mean by that, if you do that, however, if I come in here and I change the brush softness to 0, and it's just a now it's just a toggle back and forth. As you can see, got a nice soft edge. Here you got a nice hard edge. There's no in between. It's either soft or hard. And if I take this, let me throw a different one up here. Whoops, I did not mean to do it as an object. Let me pop it back out. Tile. And then if I send this to the bottom, you can actually see on this how it smooths out. Starts out nice thick, and then it fades out into the lava tile here. Alright, so I'm going to wipe these out. Object placement. Let me switch to an actual object, not an animated effect. So, we're going to place our shields. You can do the single placement just like before. You've got the tiled placement. So if you drag and then let go, it'll place them in tiles. You can also do the tile placement if you hold shift while you're doing the tile placement. It's going to randomly position, size, and recolor, change the hue. Let me move over here. Apparently, messing with the animation before it's done, loading, will leave the bar on there. Nathan, I hope you see this. But I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep on going because I'm already 7 minutes in. Alright, the other thing, the other type of placement, you got your brush placement. And with the brush placement, you can control how dense it is. So if you don't want it to be as dense, as you can see, you hold it down. And just like with the tile placement, if you hold shift, it randomizes the objects. The width, with this one, you can go pretty huge, all the way up to 4 squares. So if I did that, I can cover 4 squares at a time and add lots and lots of objects. Let me get rid of these. Repeatables. Now, for your walls, your repeatables are now under structures and then walls. Makes sense, pretty straightforward. And as you can see, I could place it as an object. Now, it's going to come up on the object layer, which is where walls should come up. But I can immediately switch that over to here, to everything that you guys remember, the line placement, the freeform placement, the polygon placement, and then last but not least, my least favorite, at least until we can cut into the walls, the circle placement. And for those of you who are new to these videos, I don't like the circle placement for one reason and one reason only. We cannot yet cut into a wall once it's placed. Now there's ways around that, and in my next video I'm going to cover the repeatables, and that's all I'm going to cover is how to place walls, how to place them effectively, how to make them look sharp and well placed, so that way you don't have any breaks in the wall which will cause light to flow through with the dynamic lighting system. There are ways to make the circles with straight lines with the extra stuff here. I mean, we got all these extra things, and I'm going to show the different things on the object wheel in a little while. And then you can also, if you don't like that, say for instance I place my wall, I don't like that wall, let's change it to that, and you can instantly change it. You no longer have to erase it, then replace it with another one. If I still don't like that, I can choose another one and change it to the city wall. Now with walls, this is where it's going to be really nice, and I'm going to cover this more next time when I do the actual wall placement one. You can, once you have it placed, don't worry as much about the length of the wall, especially when you got weird angles, because what you can do now is, watch this, you can change the length of the wall with the scale dragger, and you can fit it into any space you need it. You can also now well, you can still, make it not block light or block light. Toggle the drop shadow from it. Toggling the drop shadow is going to be important for something else a little later that, once again, I'll cover when I do repeatables. However, you'll now notice we can manipulate it with the object manipulation. So if I don't like the hue, I can change it, get a different hue. Let me zoom in so you can see it a little better. But as you can see, it'll pan through all the hues. You can change the opacity of it, just like everything else, the saturation, and of course the brightness. Can't do the mirroring options, and if you don't like the changes that you made, revert it back to its native state. Now if you do make a change and you really like it, then what I can do here is, let's say I want this really bright, I can save the object as a preset. Name the preset, and then it'll go in and you'll have a new preset on your palette. Now say you're like me and you have gigs upon gigs worth of assets. I think I'm up to almost 30 gigs of assets now, between all the official, the third party, and then the stuff that I put together myself and all the community packs. I've got them all on here. So you click on this right here, you can select your palettes. Now say I just want the Arkenforge one, I click on that one, you'll see the little light pop up, and then I switch to that. If I want to switch to the one that I built, or the ones that I built, I can switch to that, and you'll notice that all of the presets change as well. Now say you want to have multiples going. Hold down Control, click on all the ones you want, and then click OK, and that puts in all of those. So I've got the DM Robo stuff, I've got all of my stuff, plus I've got the official stuff. So really, really nice things. That way, like, sometimes you just want to work with the official stuff, sometimes you only want to work with other stuff. It lets you choose which palette is up, and your palette is no longer a huge conglomerated mess. That pretty much covers the changes to the palette tool. Now we're going to go to the side menus. Start on this side. Of course, you got your main menu, and nowadays you can switch modules just by going up to these. You've got the tutorials, so right in here you can click it, it brings up the tutorials. Map browser immediately takes you back to your map browser, and then you can save the map. Grid settings, this hasn't changed yet, although that is going to change in the future. Eraser, still the same thing. The only difference is now you toggle things on and off rather than the checkboxes. This makes it much clearer, easier to understand. Back on this side, you got your mini map. That hasn't changed. You can hide your palette tool and it'll hide the bar at the bottom. So if you want to get a better look at things, you don't have the palette tool in your way. Toggle DM player view. This is one of the big changes, and this is really nice. Now if you remember, under the old way, when you went in a scenario, you had an extra box up here. Matter of fact, nope, that box is completely gone, so I can't show it to you. You had an extra box that had the view. Had master's view and player's view. And you had to click back and forth while you were running in scenario, and sometimes you could forget, and you would go to thinking you were on the master's map, and you go to drag so you could place something ahead of the party. You would forget about it, and you would end up dragging the player's map. Well, this new version makes it a whole lot easier. Because when you've got this activated by clicking on this little thing here, everything inside this red box is what the players can see on their screen. In my case, it's the TV across the room for me. Some of you have the TV flat on the table, whichever way it is, or the projector from the ceiling, whichever way it is, whatever is on here in this red box is what the players can see. Now there's some extra stuff to go along with that. So you can zoom in and out. The tighter you pull it, the smaller it is on your screen, the tighter the zoom is on theirs. And the farther out you go, the bigger zoom is, the bigger the zoom out is there, and that's kind of weird. I'm just holding the click and it's zooming back in. Alright, if you hold Control and click, it'll automatically reset it so that way the screen is gone to 1-inch squares on your screen. And the only way that works is if you go over here to your settings, you measure the height and the width of your TV, either in inches or centimeters, depending on where you are in the world. You put the width, the height in, you save it. You got to make sure that the secondary screen is detected, otherwise it's not going to let you do this. But once you do that, when you come back over here, this will automatically, when you hit Control, rescale the map on their screen to 1-inch squares. Now, I know some of you like to, when you're playing, or when you're building your maps actually, you like to be able to see exactly how the player sees. So when I bring up the object wheel for this helmet, and I hide the players, or hide it from player's view, you can see it puts a blue outline around it, which is really nice. This is much better than the eye that used to sit over top, because I know things like with the number set that I made, the eye sitting over top kind of made it hard to see. Or if I had a creature or something like that, same deal. So what this does is, when you slide over, you can still see it. Now there's this little button here, toggle hidden object. When you toggle this, well, that's fun. I'm going to restart. However, I am going to keep talking because being 15 minutes in, I don't want to re-record all this. Now, normally when you click on that, what will happen is, and I'll bring it back up and everything so you guys can see it, it'll make it so that way the inside of that red box is exactly what the players see when you toggle that little icon. And as soon as it's done loading up, I will show you exactly, but that allows you to see everything exactly as the players see it inside that red field. Really nice and fun to have. Makes it a lot easier when you're building your maps, especially on the cartographer side of things. So you can make sure that, like, say for instance, I hide a secret door underneath a wall section. And that's the way I do it. I make the wall section, then I make it so it goes invisible. I'll check to see if it shows a secret door once I make the wall invisible, and then I'll put everything back to normal, so that way, until they pass that perception check, as the case may be, they don't get to see the hidden stuff. Alright, let me change back to this. Okay, so as I was saying about this, I'm going to place an item in here. We're going to go with the armor, we're going to drop the helmet. Everything's back to its normal size. Alright, so I'm going to zoom this up a bit so you guys can see it better. I'm going to hide it. Like I said, here on this section, blue means it's hidden, if it's got the little outline there in blue. I toggle this, and as you can see, it completely disappears from my view until I do that. Now, if I want to see it again, I untoggle it. This is really nice. This makes it so much easier to control the game and scenario. You can move things around, have lots of fun with it. I must have been bugging out, because I'm still in the latest test version. Alright, moving on. The lock button. This has not changed. You can lock all the tiles, lock all the objects, or you can go all the way down, lock everything. But like now, this is, well, let's lock all the objects. This is locked now. I can't select it unless I click on the lock icon, but you make that disappear by making this disappear by clicking back over here. Now if I want to unlock all the objects, I just hold down my shift button and I click it again, and it'll unlock it without me having to mess with it. So that hasn't really changed much. You can rotate the map. Now he did add in, if you hold down control when you're rotating the map, if I can get a hold of it, there we go. If you hold down control while you're rotating the map, it hits the cardinal points. I just hadn't gone far enough. Also, if you click right here, so let me drag this over, if you click right here in the center, it resets it to north. Really nice feature, fun to have, especially when you want to mess with your players. No, north isn't up, north is this way. The eyedropper tool. Say I've got something here that I want to copy exactly as it is. So, and this typically is with tiles is what we're looking for, but I'm going to do it with the helmet. And then I can place it. That way I don't have to go searching for it again. I don't have to control D, control V, what have you. But like with tiles, that's where it's really useful. It's going to take a moment to load up the tiles because it does the caves first, which are some pretty intensive graphics on those. Even on mine, it takes it a moment. Alright, let me switch over. I'm going to get rid of these guys, and then I'm going to select this. It's already in tiled mode. So I'll place my tiles, and then say I want to put a little section of that tile over on this tile. I can hit the eyedropper, grab it, place it. If I want to change this up a bit, no, I don't want to do that. Let's add saturation, and then I can do that, grab, and then you got the weird colored tile. So the eyedropper lets you grab basically a quick copy and paste. Alright, let me get rid of those. Now, these right here are especially useful for when you're running in scenario. If you want to bring the attention of something to your party, you can ping the screen, and it pings on my screen, it'll ping on their screen. If you want to alert them to something, you got the red alert button with the exclamation point, and question, hey, yeah, you don't know what's over there, go check it out. That's all nice new additions. Also, since we're in scenario, I'll show you the other ones. In this one, bookmarks is still there. You got the toggle DM and player review. Then we got our soundscape. Soundscape has not changed in quite a while, although from my understanding there is some changes coming. Your journal, in this instance I've been running Rise of the Rune Lords. I haven't actually added it in yet. I'm waiting on the encyclopedia to be updated, which I believe that is the next set of updates. Alright, so as you can see, a lot of things have changed. And I am actually going to keep going with a few other of the changes. So, draw you this here, and then I'm going to show you everything. So, you can now change the size of everything with the scale change slider. The layering, this is really nice because, say for instance, and I'll cover this again later, but this is what I think is really cool. So, as you guys all know, my OCD forces me even to fill in, like say I have a cave, and I'm going to do this real quick. There's the walls, give me stone, and I'm going to select my stone to be placed polygon in the tiled placement. Actually, let me draw my cave first. So I got my cave, and I'll switch to the lines, and I'll draw the outline here. I like to put boundaries at the edge of my map. So what I can do then is I come over here, and then I can and fill in the cave wall section, so that way when you're looking at it, and I'm going to bring up one of my maps to show you here in a bit. It brings up a nice thing. Now this is where you can really have fun with this. So I've got my cave wall filled in. I've got the actual cave wall that blocks light. This is primarily an aesthetic thing, but you can use it for lots of stuff. Now I can move it from the tile layer. I can talk honestly. I can move it up to the object level, and then I can change the layer that it's on. And as you can see, it now fits in nicely. It no longer has the grid over top of it, and it does exactly what I want it to do, and that's block the grid and everything and hide stuff that's there. Furthermore, this hasn't changed other than the usual stuff there. That's all the same, but you can use it on everything now. Lighting. I need an actual object to light up. So if I want to add lighting to something, I can do that. I can change the light radius, and I'll discuss light radius later. Once again, I can change the layers. So if I wanted this to be partially under the wall, like say it had been caved in, when the players look at it, it's partially under the wall. Once again, all that. However, I've got the mirroring. Oh, pardon me. But I've got the mirroring options here, so I can flip it back and forth as I wish. Once again, if I don't like it, I can revert all the changes. Lock it in place. Now this blue button here, contextual options. With most objects, you're not going to have anything but the group selected tiles. With walls, repeatables, you can go to here. Whoops, let me do that again. You select it, you can group it, you can set the new width. So if I don't like this width, say I want it to be 1/2 inch, I can change it right there, and it leaves it in the same spot. Now, if I want to change my anchor points, I click on the bottom one there that you saw, and then I can come here, and then I can do my little thing to make the curved walls, and voila. So those have changed. Now with animations, animations has even more. I can't remember if tiles has anything. Oh yeah, we'll do tiles first. So if I don't like the direction that the image is going for tiles, and this is really useful for roofing tiles, you can spin it all around. Now it does not have the cardinal points, so if you hold control, nothing extra happens. You just kind of have to guesstimate where you want it. I can also change the scale of the image. So as you can see, and then I can keep dragging it smaller to make it really tiny, or vice versa. If I want it to be really big, I can zoom in pretty far. Alright, back to animations. Animations is the other one that has some extra fundamental contextual options. So I'm going to go to effects. I'm going to go to fire because I really like fire. I'm a firefighter paramedic for my day job. I'm going to let this finish loading up here. I'm going to grab a cough drop while it's loading. Alright, so contextual options for your animations. And this is going to be for animated tiles. This is going to be for anything that's animated. So this one here, loop or trigger animation. I can shut it off, make it so it runs once, and it'll do 1 frame. This one is, it continues to loop. So if I set it to play, it does that. Here, or I'll go here, this is group tile, selected tiles. This is on everything. Now here we can control the frames per second. So if I don't like how fast it's going, I can slow that fire all the way down to 1 frame per second. Now, just like most of the others that have a number attached to them, if you right click on this button, you can type the frames per second. And now it's going to do 1 frame a second, which is really slow fire. Or if I want that sucker to be a raging inferno, I can bring it all the way up. I'm going to stop just shy of 100, and as you can see, it's really burning now. And it has all the other options, but it's the contextual options that are in a nice change, because now we can do lots of stuff. Grouping objects. Grouping objects is actually pretty easy, and it doesn't have to be just objects. Like say I want to get that tile in too. So I got it all, I hit Control G. When you group the objects, it lights up with a green outline. So whenever you select it, it's going to light up, and everything that's highlighted in green is grouped together. Now what I like to do is, let me bring up my palette. And what I like to do is, when I've got a bunch of monsters, and I know lots of people have been doing this, if you download my community pack, download all of them, you're gonna get the numbers in there. So if I have a bunch of monsters, I place the monsters, I come back up here to a set of numbers and letters, and I need to update the pack, but I can put 1, I can put 2, I can put 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then what I do is I go through and I drag select, Control G. Now, when I'm running with the tokens on the board, as you can see, it's going to be grouped together. Yeah, the number is right over the image. However, what you can do, if you don't like that, you can hide the number, and then on the player screen, the number's hidden, so all they see is this. They see the critter. They don't see the number then, if it's hidden. However, oh, actually I think that hides the whole thing when you do it. I could be wrong. Either way, when I select this, I can now move, and it centers. Now when you're placing the numbers on there, make sure that you hold down Control and you center it right in the middle, because if you don't, like say for instance, let's go back down here and grab these guys again. My bestiary, my Pathfinder 2 token. There it is at the right size, but I'm going to make it larger. So if I do this, and then I group them together, you're going to notice the center point is off. So if I do this, then it sets it in a weird spot, and then you got to go through. But if you hold Control when you're putting the number in the middle of the token, it will appear in the right place, and then it centers the token correctly. Alright, so that pretty much covers all of the new stuff that's been added. There's still more stuff to come, but these are the big features. This is the massive build that Nathan has been working on for 3 months, where he completely rebuilt the Cartographer that we all knew and loved and made it better. And I mean tons better. If you've been watching our streams at all, you'll see the gradual changes go through, with the occasional crash mid-game. It happens. That's what happens when you're using the test stream. But that pretty much covers all the new stuff. Now, I'm going to try and get back to the habit of making one of these a week. So next week, you should be seeing me putting out one that, starting from the beginning again, nothing but repeatables. If you got any questions or anything, hit me up. You know I'm always in the Discord with my name. You can always ask Nathan and Dante. They're always willing to help out. And as an extra little thing, if you would like to support my company, Knightsmith Games, and the Knights of the Smith Dinner Table, we do have a Patreon. I'll put the link in the comments section down below. We also would love to have you following us on Facebook. My group has a lot of heart and soul put into our games. We all have fun. They are by no means safe for work, so don't watch our videos at work. Some of our jokes are very crude, so it's definitely not for children. But we'd love to have you watching. We play several times a week, different games on each session, and that pretty much covers all I've got to talk about tonight. So, if you like what you see, hit like, click that little thumbs up button, head over to our Facebook page, find us over there, and give us a like there, and you can throw us some stars on our videos. Other than that, everybody have a great time, and I hope this helped you all out. Have a good night.